Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. This video is my second look at Builderius. Builderius is a site builder, page builder. It is the new kid on the block. My first look was just about a year ago in September. Here's the brief summary, and one thing I wanted to point out is in September last year, the free version had 10 active installs. Builderius is one of those plugins where for the Pro version, you need to have the free version installed also. It builds on top of it. So today, the free version of Builderius has more than 50 active installs. So in the course of a year, it's grown, but not by leaps and bounds. So the Builderius team has put a lot of effort in over the past year to improve the builder, and they have a lot more projects and work that they're planning to do. And so it's a little disappointing to them that there hasn't been more of an uptake. There hasn't been more interest in Builderius. So what they've done this summer over the last month or so is that they've really done a push to inform people and educate people and let people know more about what's happening with Builderius, what the builder is like, and the types of features it has. And what they've done is a big series of videos here where they've compared Builderius with bricks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos that they've released past 2 weeks that compare Builderius and bricks. There's one that's pretty good, and it's this one here where Uduro Essen joined Vitali from the Builderius team. Uduro knows bricks very well and does some good videos on bricks, so he helped to demo the brick side of how you do things while Vitali demoed the Builderius side. What you can see, the big picture, is that you can end up with very similar results. They're both advanced builders and they have features to achieve those. But of course, you go about achieving those results in different ways depending on the builder. Another thing that they've done is that they have launched a summer sale, having 20% off on Builderius, an unlimited lifetime license. So it's pretty inexpensive, and there's a coupon to get the discount. The link to the sale will be in the video description if you happen to watch the video this summer while the sale's going on. I have a Builderius testing site here. I've got the free Cadence theme, got some demo post data, but I've also got a custom post type called audiobooks and one called book authors. Let's go look at these. See, here's book authors and here's audiobooks. I've used Metabox for creating the custom post types and adding the custom fields. So if we look at the book authors, for instance, like here's George R.R. Martin. Let's go and edit that. And you can see we have the post title is the author's name. This is a short biography. Here's the author's photo, a link to the author's website, the date of birth. And then we have a kind of repeater type of field. In Metabox, it's a group that has clonable fields in it. So I have a group of fields here for each author for their social media sites. And I just have it going to the home page of the social media site because I didn't want to go and actually look up and find their full links. But you get the idea. Here's a link for Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit for this author, for instance. What I want to do is give you an idea of what it's like to create the template, the single template for book author. I'm not going to try to do everything because I really want to just kind of give you a feel for working in Builderius. If we look at the plugins here, I've got this for backups. I've got Builderius Free and Builderius Pro. Then I've got the core Metabox plugin. And I've got the Metabox all-in-one plugin. This is free from WordPress plugin directory, and this is premium packages that include all of the extensions. If we go on the front end here and we look at authors, this is what the template looks like for Cadence. Okay, we have the author's photo. You see it's in the middle here. Often, I think by default, Cadence assumes you're going to have a big 1200 pixel wide image, and it would fade in here with this O coming in over it. So you see our little author photo kind of standing there alone. But anyway, so here's the post title, the post date, and the short biography, which is the content. Obviously, we don't have any custom fields showing by default. That's one of the reasons why we use a builder. Actually, I think what I'll do here is I'll duplicate this and we'll leave that open. And let's go into the Builderius menu. Here we are, and it's giving us an overview which says we don't have any templates created yet. We have one release, but there's nothing published. So this is just kind of our starting out point. Activate is where you enter your license key. Publish is where you take your work and you make it live. And Builderius has a cool feature, which is that you can have templates and other changes you're making in the builder and work on those and view them yourself. But as long as they haven't been published yet, site visitors still see the default or what you had before. So that's kind of a cool feature, and that's what this publish interface is about. Components is a feature of Builderius. You can have global component layouts that you can insert into templates. And this is actually how you create your header and footer in Builderius. You would create a header component, and then when you create your template, like we're going to do for single author, you would insert that, include that component in your template. So that's a little bit different than you might be used to, but it might be a little more flexible. I'm not sure. Okay, then this is the templates menu. One of the changes that they've made, I'm just going to say book author single. It's going to be the name of our template. And this is one of the changes that they have now. They have regular templates and hook templates. And regular templates are the kind of thing you're used to. Let's go look at that. They have these things called starters, which is basically just some of the common ones, like for all published pages, for archives with a certain category with a 404, for all category archives, for your front page or your blog page, so on, right? And if you don't want to use one of those starters, you can add a rule, okay, and define it that way. So if we were going to do that, we would say singular page, and then we would go singular post page, and it would be custom post type, and it would be book author, and we want it to be for all. Okay, but one of the caveats of this way of doing it is that you need to kind of build the whole theme yourself. Okay, because when you do this, it's going to override the template 100%, and you won't have any header or footer. Okay, so you'd have to go to your components and create your header and footer, and you'd want to use that probably for your whole site so that you have consistency. Okay, but one of the things that they've added since I did my look about a year ago is they added this hook template option. Kind of advanced themes like Cadence that we're using here, or Astra, or Generate Press, or Neve. A lot of these more modern themes have hook locations where you can override content or add content. And so what Builderius has now is you have the ability where we can create just the content area for our book author page and still use the header and footer from the theme. This is still, though, kind of a little bit of a trial and error. You need to know what you're doing, because I know we're trying to replace the content area. So I'm going to type in content. But you see, even limiting it down just to content, we have a lot of hook locations that we can hook into. I am going to say just the content rather than after or before some content. You have an action or a filter, and I'm going to say an action and I'm going to replace the other hook content. And if that's wrong, I may have to come back and change it, but let's see how we get along. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is what we showed in the last, when we were looking at the other option. I'm going to do single page, and I'm going to do for custom post type, book author, all authors, rather than for an individual one. You can see that in addition to this kind of rule, you can create a rule based on some user values. Super globals, those would be rules based on things like URL parameters. You can create your templates based on the language or the device. So let's save. Here we are now. You can change the apply rules or the properties. I want to go in though and edit. Okay, and we're now in kind of a blank page, but you see this icon here. This opens out the editor interface. We have here, we can switch between light and dark modes. This gives a transparency here so you can see what's behind. We can switch the panel over to the other side. We can make the panel small or large. And we can go to the WordPress admin. We can open an inspector. It's a little bit like the browser inspector. Here we can go to the template settings, our global settings. We can view dynamic data, look at revisions, and this is a nice feature here. We're able to pick which record we want to use to preview our data. Then you have a option to add a module, a layout, or import, and a trash can. On the module list, you see there are a lot of modules here: header, footer, main, section. We have some content modules here, different types. We have some HTML modules and template and SVG code and HTML code, short codes. Add a Gutenberg block. It's kind of interesting. Your multimedia, dynamic data modules like loops and collections. Okay, and components, which are kind of sections or blocks of these modules that you can create and then reuse. And then here's a lot more, pretty long list here of modules that you have to choose from: gallery, Lottie, cookie notice, swiper, slider, so on. There's some form modules built in and table modules, so you can build up a table, you can build up a form. So a lot of options there with that. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a section, and nothing shows. You can see it up here when you click on it that we've got it, but it doesn't have any height or width. And so here we have data options and CSS options. And when you click on the CSS options, here you can enter, your classes or variables if you're using framework or an external style sheet kind of thing or whatever. Here are layout settings, positioning settings, size settings, typography, border, background, and extra. And so I think what we want is probably, let's go for size. So we have margin, we have padding. Notice as I scrolled there, we kind of lost track of the fact that we're in a list of modules. That's kind of one of the UI gotchas. We're going to see a few of those. I'm not too worried about these. I'm going to point them out to you as we go through because they're real and I'm not trying to hide anything. I think the next big push that they're going to be working on is to redo this interface and make it better. So, like I said, I'm not too worried about some of the shortcomings here because I'm waiting to see what they come up with. But anyway, here's margin, padding, width. So this is what I think I wanted, 100% for the section. And then for min height, let's make it 100 pixels. Okay. So there's our section. Anyway, let's go background. Let's give it a background color. I like blue. So let's give it just a very light blue. We can remove this later if we want to, but it's helpful here just so we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, now inside this section, we want to put a div for our container. And the way you go back in Builderius is you close the module settings. So I find that a little bit clunky, and you'll see as we're going along, we're kind of Xing out is like that. But anyway, So when you do this from the plus item here, it's going to add it inside, I think, so that's a good thing. And if you go here, you see you have settings, duplicate, and some save and copy and paste options, okay? So when I add a module, this is going to be a div, and so that's nice, it adds it inside. Okay, and again, we don't see anything except this, at the top here because there's no dimensions to it. So let's give this a max width of 1280. See, that's where that comes in. Okay, and let's give it a minimum height of 100 also. And then let's give this a background color too so we can see it. We'll go to our blue and maybe choose just a little bit darker color blue than the section. Okay, and now we want to center this so our content is centered. This is where we're going to put our content. And I suppose you can name these, so that it makes sense. I'm not going to do that now for this because we're going kind of quick here, but let's go to layout and we'll make this flex and we'll say flex direction column. And let's wrap, no wrap, and let's align item center. Okay, I think let's go out of this. And I don't see our div. So let's close that div. We lost it. Let's look at the size again. So 1280 pixels. Okay, and now it is centered. So that was a little bug there that we lost that setting. But anyway, here's our centered content now. And if we let's go to the section. Let's give it some margin at the top and bottom. Let's say 2 rem, 2 rem. It's not right up against the header when we are looking at the page. And let's save. Builderius does a syntax check, I think. So I've gotten in the habit of saving as I'm going along, because if you add a lot of things and there was some setting you missed, then it might be hard to figure out which panels has the missing setting. Now inside the div, I am going to add another div and I'm going to duplicate that. Okay, and so for this div, let's give it a temporary background of red, and let's set its size, its width at 20%. Okay, and set a minimum height of 100 pixels just so we can see it there. And then this div, we will give it a size of 80% and the minimum height of 100 pixels again. A background color for this one of green. All right, and now let's go to our container here and let's set this as flex. And there we go. Okay, so now in this div, we want to add our author's photo. And notice that we go to the settings when we do this. So we need to close this. And we go here to add module. This is going to be image. Now we're going to choose our source. So I'm going to go here to the database icon. And you see I can search here. There's a search option. Anyway, I want featured image. Okay, FEATUR. Feature image file URL. Then image size large. This is a result of the Cadence theme settings overriding the Builderius settings, and pointed out to the Builderius team it's something that they're going to address in the UI update, the way that their hooks work, because we're hooking into the theme, it's loading theme styles here. Okay, so that's why that is. And I wanted to show it to you so that you see I'm not kind of sugarcoating the review, but we can switch to the dark option here, okay, and choose. So we can go on this and we can go to CSS, layout, flex. Now in this column or div, now I want to add here a module. We're going to add a heading. Okay, and then we want it to be an H1, so that's good. And we'll go to data settings. We'll delete this out and we'll pick the post title. Okay, let's go back to this div and CSS settings, sizing, and let's put some padding at the sides of that div. Now in this div, we want to add another module. Now we want to add the post content. And I think we want an HTML module is a good one for this. And so we go to the data settings. And you know, this is actually different. The first look, every time you wanted a field, you would go into the GraphQL query editor to pick your field, which was kind of cool. It was a lot of steps though, but it was kind of cool. So they've simplified that now by giving us kind of the standard list of fields that we can pick from. And you know, we'll see like here are the metabox fields. Okay, and they have a good list. Here's the post author fields and user fields and site fields. Okay, so you know, there's no shortage of fields here, and we want post content. So what do we need to do now for that? Okay, I know what's wrong here. Took a while to figure it out, but let's go out to WordPress and remember here when I said maybe it was a I might be making a mistake with those settings. Now let's go and look. And there is our post content. Okay, so that was user error. I'm going to close this other window that I had open. So we see we don't have a space or any space between the paragraphs. So let's go and find custom CSS. Our label will be paragraph. Okay, is that enough? Make it 15. Hmm. 15px. Okay, I didn't screw that up. Let's save and reload. All right. On this one, we can go to our CSS, size, margin bottom. We can have 0.5 rim. All right, so there's kind of our basic information. Let's say then under our image, so in here, let us add a div. And this div, we're going to give it margin top of 15 pixels. Let's give it a minimum width of 100 pixels. And so we can see kind of what we have. Let's give it a background color. Also, maybe a yellow. And I guess we need to give it a minimum height. All right. Inside this div, then I want to add a module. Okay, a collection. And what we want to do is display that group repeater, that clonable field with the social links. Let's go look at that. See, we have social site and social site link under this group, and this is clonable. So let's go to our collection template, and inside of that, let's add in here an anchor. Okay, and this will be called social link. This is the way you do it. You create a placeholder first. This is my understanding from the good help that I got from the Builderius team on how to use this. Okay, now we close that and we go to the collection level. For the content, we find our field. I'm going to go back to dark mode here. So we find our field, and what we want is a social media site. Notice it's found that group field. Okay, and so we have 3 of those, so it's created 3 fields there. So that's cool. Now let's go to the anchor. Let's replace that now with the loop item, which is the social site, and then the other part of the collection was the social site link. We want this social site, and you see it got Instagram, Threads, Mastodon. Those are our 3 that we had. I'm going to put in a break there. And then for the URL, I'm going to remove that £, and we'll do the social site link. Okay, and I'm going to save that. So we got our links from the repeater, so that's cool. Let's do away with some of these background colors. They're kind of ugly. Okay. And on this div, background color. Okay, and this div, background color. All right, so I'm going to save. And now let's go back to our page here. This is what we have. Now notice we've replaced the content here. We still have these fields showing from Cadence. And that's because if we go into the customizer and we go to the layouts for book authors, we've got these options set. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hide the title and the meta. Go down and let's not show featured image. Okay, and I'm going to publish that and go out. And now we get our Builderius data there. Looks kind of funky with that background color. So let's go to our high level div here and move that background color also. All right, now we just have the very light color. And let's go here for that background and remove it. Save. Okay, so this is one of the things I was saying, not valid, setting not valid. Content config. Let's see if we can read that again. Background color, I guess it doesn't like not having something set. Try setting it for white. So now let's go for this div. Background color, I'm not sure where the issue is. But at some point along the way, there we go, okay. So we're happy now. And let's go and refresh. All right, and then this goes to Twitter, now X, yep. Okay, so that's working. That is the kind of a look at how you would go about creating a template while still using the theme and how you would show a repeater field. Now that we've done that introduction and walkthrough, let's end with some discussion and conclusions. The Builderius team is working hard to create a standout solution, but judging by the number of active installs, they still haven't captured the community's attention. They're offering a sweet price during the sale to encourage people to try it out for themselves. The team also did a number of comparison videos with bricks. This was in response to people's requests on Facebook asking how they compared, so it's cool that they responded in depth. However, if I was to do a comparison, I think I would compare it to Oxygen. I think Builderius is closer to Oxygen than bricks. Oxygen gives the user an interface that's close to the code. Builderius does that even more than Oxygen does. So I would order them as bricks, Oxygen, Builderius, in order of difficulty and in working closely with code. In terms of pros and cons, the Builderius team has been planning a big user interface overhaul for some time now. You saw in the video some of the UI issues, and we also saw a few bugs and oddities that wasted some time. Perhaps it would have been better for the Builderius team to start their public awareness push after the UI update. I should point out, though, that none of the UI issues stopped me, but the walkthrough would have been much nicer without them. And let's not overlook Builderius' strong points. For example, features mentioned or shown in the video include great support for ACF and Matterbox dynamic data. We saw how relatively easy it was to output the repeater type of data, even when there was more than one field per row. You can replace the theme and build all the templates with Builderius, or you can keep the theme and just replace the content area. You have built-in staging on the site with the ability to publish your updates as releases to make them live. And these are just some of the pros. So let's assume that the team fixes all of the UI issues. What then? Where would Builderius stand? My sense is that Builderius would still be more technical to use than Oxygen and bricks. That's not a bad thing per se, as Builderius opens up a lot of power and flexibility. The site builder would have fewer limitations. Working close to the code and having that level of freedom appeals to many power users and developers. However, being more technical than Oxygen also probably means that the overall market share will be smaller also. It's pretty amazing what the small Builderius team has achieved so far, and they're moving forward with many planned improvements. At the end of my first look at Builderius, I concluded that it wasn't ready for adoption yet. I wouldn't have used it to build sites. Now with the second look, I can see that one could build sites with it, and it's closer to being a serious choice for developers and power users. So that's my second look at Builderius, a walkthrough and discussion of what the team has been up to. There's a text version of the video available on the WebTNG website, along with other walkthroughs, reviews, and resources. Hope that you got some useful things from the video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really makes a big difference. Thank you for watching.